Hey everybody, how's it going? How's your Wednesday going? Anybody get in and out for lunch today? I hope I inspired everybody to go out and get a double double. I like regular onions. I don't like grilled onions. That's uh, that's my daughter and my wife. They both like grilled onions. I like the raw. My son does too. So we smell great after lunch or dinner. Anyways, hey, earlier today I saw this trailer for Escape Room. Did you guys see that? It's pretty interesting. It looks like another Saw. I don't know what I can show on here. I don't know what the rules are with YouTube and all that. I don't want to get a strike or anything. So anyway, I'll put the description in here. It's Escape Room, the official trailer. I'll put that in the description on the video here so you can check it out. But it looks interesting. I think I might go see that. Looks like a lot of terrible fun. But okay, well today I want to talk about story writing. Had a few people ask me about creating an Indiegogo, creating a story. How do you do it? What's your inspiration? All that kind of stuff. Well, why ask me? What do I know? What do I know anything? When I was younger, in my teens and 20s, I thought I wanted to get into showbiz, and so I went to work for some animation studios, some special effects studios. I got a lot of knowledge, a lot of experience. It was a lot of fun. I went to directing school, and I worked with actors that were there to hone their craft. And I got to work with a lot of great people, and we just worked on a set, and I went over lines with them. We got performances out of them, and it was such a great way to connect with people, get to know people, develop good synergies and good relationships. But what I took from that when I went on into the business world, into advertising and marketing, I took that with me, and it was helpful in trying to build those business relationships and those business synergies, and looking at the business or concepts through the eyes of other people. And I think that was kind of key. So for people that want to create a story, really who you have intended, your target audience, who you have intended to read your material or look at your material, whatever it is, if it's music or if it's sculpting or painting, writing, 3D rendering, consider who your audience is and work towards that. I could go on about the most recent trilogy movie, The Last Jedi, and go into the details about poor story writing there, but I'm not going to. It's not what this video is about. But I just wanted to go over a couple of things. So, I found a couple of interesting articles. This is on social media today. It was written by Tommy Walker. This was published back, look at that, Halloween 2011. And this is the 7 story archetypes and how they can dramatically improve your marketing. So, basically, there's 7 basic plot lines. That's it. There's no more. And here they are right here. So the first one is overcoming the monster. The second one is rags to riches. We have the quest. We have voyage and return, comedy, tragedy, and rebirth. And, overcoming the monster, that's, what's that? That's Alien, Predator. Is it Godzilla movies? I don't know. Godzilla is fighting other monsters. I don't know. He's the protagonist or the anti-hero. But overcoming the monster, that's the first one on the list here. And I guess when the story that you're trying to put together, it's going to fall in one of these categories here. I mean, think of your favorite movie. It's in one of these categories. So you have to consider that. And I've talked to people online. It was right after The Last Jedi came out, and it was people arguing for The Last Jedi and why it was so good, saying it's a different kind of movie, it's a different kind of approach, it's different kind of thinking. Well, that's fine. And there you go. They did it. But don't expect to have it well received if you don't follow basic rules. And there are rules to storytelling. You're not confined to you have to tell a certain story with certain characters, but there are basics that us humans accept, understand, process, and there's rules to that. So Let's go over this real quick. Overcoming the monster. What is that here? Well, this is in the stories. This is where the hero must destroy the monster to restore balance in the world. In the real world, this could be overcoming an addiction. Overcoming an addiction, fighting off a perfect boss, debt, beating an illness, or anything else that requires something to be defeated by the hero. So that could be a monster, an actual monster, or it could be a variety of other things. But yeah, it's overcoming a monster to restore balance to the world. So that's one aspect. Rags to riches in the stories. In the stories, this is in these stories. I think maybe there's a typo there. In these stories, this is where a modest and moral but downtrodden character achieves a happy ending when their natural talents are displayed to the world at large. It is in the real world, this applies to anyone with an undeniable, incredible talent who wants to break through and be successful. This could apply to photographers, musicians, artists, and yes, even bloggers. So is that Rocky? Is that Real Steel? Rags to Riches? It sounds like it might be that. The Quest. Yeah, the Galactic Comet falls under the Quest or Voyage and Return, and it's different for my three main characters. That would be the young grandfather and the two grandkids. So let's see what applies here. The hero, often accompanied by sidekicks, travels in search of a priceless treasure and must defeat evil and overcome powerful odds, and ends when he gets both the treasure and the girl. The Odyssey is a classic example of this kind of story. Often quest stories make our heroes encounter a variety of challenges that are seemingly unrelated. In the real world, this is very much the story of every beginning entrepreneurial journey. Unlike Rags to Riches, if your ideal customer is on the quest, you're in it for the long haul. Your product or service is meant to be a long-lasting tool that can be used along the way or ongoing companionship. Now he's talking about some marketing elements, but let's go to Voyage and Return. Stories of normal protagonists who are suddenly thrust into strange and alien worlds and must make their way back to normal life once more. Examples of this are Alice in Wonderland or Castaway. That would be true for Wizard of Oz, although it has a little bit of that quest in there. I'm not going to go into the real world stuff because that's, it's not really applicable to what we're talking about tonight. But, the hero, often accompanied by his sidekicks, travels in search of priceless treasure. So that's really the story of the grandfather in mine, in the Galactic Comet, and then the Voyage and Return. That's for the grandkids. Stories of normal protagonists are suddenly thrust into strange and alien worlds. So mine kind of crosses those two, and that happens in stories. But if yours doesn't fall into one of these categories, you try to figure out what you're writing about, because there is a focus. And then with comedy, not in the haha, that's kind of funny way, but more in the Shakespeare kind of way. The plot of a comedy involves some kind of confusion that must be resolved before the hero and heroine can be united in love. Gosh, is that Mannequin? Tragedy. As a rule, the consequences of human overreaching and egotism, Julius Caesar, Romeo and Juliet, Hamlet, etc. Stories from this category are usually very self-evident. Would that be Seven? Does Seven, that movie with Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman, does that fall within tragedy? Possible. Rebirth. This story archetype almost always has a threatening shadow, and that seems nearly victorious until a sequence of fortuitous or even malicious events lead to redemption and rebirth. That's like a Christmas Carol with Scrooge, and certainly what was it, Bill Murray, Scrooged. So that falls within that category. But this is good information. It's good knowledge to have. But again, every story, every movie, everything you've seen pretty much falls in one of these categories. So there's this. And again, this is socialmediatoday.com, and the author is Tommy Walker. And take a look at this. Pretty interesting. Let's go over here. And hi, can I send you an email? No, I get plenty. No, thanks. Thanks, Noah. Okay. The hero's journey. Everyone knows this one. This is some great fundamentals as far as conveying your story out of your head on paper. Let's see. Let's skip down here where story does. A well-told story engages our brains like nothing else, creates a personal connection with information, helps us make sense of complicated situation or concepts, provokes emotion while shutting down skepticism, and that's suspending disbelief. So if you go to the second one here, creates a personal connection with information. Um, from my point of view, most stories, most movies are going to be successful when there's some kind of human personal connection. The audience can identify with the hero, the protagonist. They can, in some way, live through their eyes as they're watching the movie. Like that's them; they're in that situation. Those are usually some pretty good ones. Um, but that's I think is really key. And that's the case with Comet. You know, the two grandkids, they lose their grandfather. He's old and he passes. They're very sad. They're very upset about it. But the grandfather left something for them to go check out, and they do. And then they're reunited with him in the past and across the stars, and they're able to get to know him, and they get to know him as a young man, which no one did because he was out in space. It turns out for the military. And this is a great story because there is that connection, and there are scenes in my story where they're doing something. There's action or there's some activity happening. It's not long-winded prose to where the kids aren't going to be entertained, but there's those moments where they connect. Um, Maybe someone went through something awful and they're being consoled, or the other one is learning to overcome fear, and they work together to solve that. And there's those connection points that we have probably experienced in our life, maybe with our parents, our grandparents, or whoever that is close to us. And those things are real, and that's what we connect with. And to me, that's what a good story is. My son is 17. What kid doesn't play a lot of video games now? But there was one video game he played. It was The Force Unleashed. PS2, 3, I don't know what it was, but he just played that nonstop, and I would sit there and watch it with him because it was presented like a movie, and it was it starts at the, I'm not going to go into it too much, but it starts at during the the purge of the Jedi. It's Vader. He's in costume, but like newly Vader, and they're going after Jedi. So they go and they cut down this one Jedi, but Vader feels in the Force a very strong, Force wielder, and it's the kid. He takes the kid, brings him under his wing, and trains him in the ways of the Sith to be his secret protege. Well, so the story is he rebels, he goes against Vader, or he's working for him. It's a whole thing. You can check it out. You can look at it on YouTube. Anyway, the point is that at the end of it, I think there's a choice to either he self-sacrifices himself or goes on. I'm not sure. But by the time, spoiler alert here, cover your ears if you don't want to hear this. By the second game, the second part of it, he didn't make it. He died. And Vader cloned him, and he has a series of clones. And so the main character here, I'll get to the point here. The main character in the second story, the second version, The Force Unleashed 2, he's a clone. And he's one of many clones. And Vader has killed these clones because they malfunctioned. They didn't obey. They were too much like the original guy. His name was Starkiller. So in the second one, he's a clone, and he's having flashes, memories of the old guy. And that's hard. That's a hard emotional connection to work with that character because he's a clone. He's not the original. He's a copy. But the way they present it and the way they tell the story and the flashbacks, and it's almost like he's being that original character again, actually pulled it off. I thought it was pretty good. But it's hard to do that in stories when you don't have an emotional or personal connection. Take a look at The Matrix. I mean, it's all a cold digital world, tinted green, but you've got Trinity and you've got Neo and their love connection, their love story. You have to have those things for human beings, and it makes sure you have some kind of element to where you can connect with your audience, and that's a good place to consider when you're writing a story. Here we've got what happens to a hero. Just go check this out. This is causevox.com, and this was written by Megan Donahue. Here's the book, The Hero with 1,000 Faces by Joseph Campbell. Great book. You go through here, and Here, there's a breakdown of with the hero journey. You've got there's Wizard of Oz, Star Wars, Cinderella. This is the ordinary world to describe it. Here's the call to get them motivated to direct the plot, to push the story forward. And then you have the mentor. Then you have the trials, the big confrontation, the climax of the story, and the return. Now, if you're a beginning story writer, you don't have a lot of experience writing stories, play it safe. That way you don't write yourself in corners and come up with stuff you can't resolve. Just follow a basic 3-act formula: introduction, and then you have that build up, and then usually, so the first act is the introduction. The second is the starts usually with the call to action. You have the build up, and usually at the end of the second act is the climax, the big climatic scene, the scene where Luke and Vader fight in Bespin, and Luke gets his hand cut off. Spoiler alert, sorry. And that's a climax in that. And then in the third act, the denouement, the resolution, you try to settle all the pieces, or best you can if you're planning a sequel. But try to follow that formula, and that's a good starting point. Create an outline of what you want to do, but introduce the character, have him have a call to action. You know, what events set your character in motion to go forward and slay his dragon. You know, go after the prize, and then make sure you resolve it. And the main thing, and this is what I learned from my directing class, screenwriting classes, all this: be clear. It's really good to write, and then edit, cut it down, trim it, revise it, make it concise, bring it all together. But it's better to overwrite and then edit down. And that way, sometimes you teach yourself some new story method or something in the story that you want to do differently, and you do that by brainstorming, and they just bring it all together. But, create an outline and then create a basic 3-act formula. Read this content because it's really good. It really shows, the structure here. Let's see, how to conduct research before writing your first novel. This is the writingcooperative.com. This is written by Zoe Nixon. This is August 21st, 2017. And this is about research. Remember what I said: know your topic, know your target audience. This is for kids. The Galactic Comet is for kids. So no one's going to get murdered in it. No one's going to die horribly. No one died. Well, one person dies. That's the spoiler alert there. But in the story, there's not going to be any violence that's going to be objectionable to a kid and the parent reading the story. You're not going to read the story and go, gosh, this is horrible. Wasn't appropriate for kids. Of course it is. I have kids. I have been raising kids since I was 10, 11 years old. I have younger brothers and younger sisters. So at age 10, I was changing diapers, making formula bottles, dressing them. I've been doing this for a while, and I've been watching kids and see how they respond to different mediums. And one thing I don't want to do is create something negative for children. I don't have an agenda. I don't want to teach anybody anything. I don't want to wag a finger, but I think stories that connect with others. In this case, it's a family story and family connecting. I think that's important, and I think it's positive. So know your topic and your target audience and write accordingly. Get reliable sources of information on the internet so you can tell this was written post 1980. 1990. Verify using other sources. Travel to the locale if you have to. Wasn't able to get out into deep space. I didn't get out to the Horsehead Nebula. I didn't get out to Orion or the Dog Star. So I had to read about it. So this is some good information right here to take a look at and try to put that together. But it's connecting with people. That's the main thing you want to do. So yeah, there was that question. I think somebody, in this case here, there was a plant monster, and it emits this gas, and then you pass out, and the thing tries to eat you. He does not eat the kids. Spoiler here again, sorry. But somebody was saying, well, is that what happens? Is it horrible? Are you going to have nightmares? No, no. But we have to get past these obstacles and these monsters, and you have to do it in a clever way to where it's entertaining. And that's the main thing here. You want to, like I said, you want to revise as best you can your story. So be sure to brainstorm and then go to an outline and have everything set. You know, a lot of this stuff here, people were looking at this, some images they liked, some they didn't. These are not pages. I think I mentioned this before. These are not pages. These are concepts. This is a concept right here. This is not going to be in the book. It's going to be a whole lot better than this. This is just a concept here. But the look of this, the Galactic comic, this is for kids. So it's going to be a story. It's going to be a cartoon. Excuse me. It's going to be something that has a play value to it, something that kids respond to. I love comic books. I'm 49 next month, and I still love comic books. But little kids today, they're not gravitating towards comic books. They got their cell phones, which is a tragedy. But to get them away from that and get them engaged in materials, the Galactic Comet is a good one. It's a nice big book. It's 11 by 11, huge. It's almost a square foot. And this is where you just turn the big pages. The pages are just full color bleeds. It's all the way out to the edges. We're not going to have a big giant page with a little color picture. Every single page where applicable has that. All the right-hand pages are all art. All the left-hand pages are the text, storybook. So you read it that way. So it's very, very immersive in that way. So this is what's marketable to kids. This is what they respond to, and I'm talking about little guys up until maybe tween age, just shy of tween. The tweens hit that age and they're too cool for their old stuff. Yet it's all hidden in the closet, so they'll go back and they'll go read some of their storybooks. I've seen it. So that's fun here. Yeah, this is great. A lot of fun. But yeah, I wanted to say again, thank you to the backers so far. I got another backer last night. We're at a point where the cost to make the first book has been met easily. I've invested a lot of capital into this already over the course of the last year and a half. I purchased 3D models and software and some other tools to help make this possible. So there's a lot of catch up I have to do, but the money is going to go towards producing the books and also investing in the next set of books that are coming, which will be out soon. So let's take a look at the calendar. So we're at October 24th. Let's go over here to, okay, so my campaign ends Monday. So Monday at midnight, or the 4th, Sunday at midnight, whatever, right there. When it's 12:01 and it's the 5th, it's over. So they say that funding usually happens 5 to 10 days. So if I get funding here the week of the 12th, we'll get fulfillment done. So I want to start mailing out the books the week of the 19th. So that'll be in everybody's hands, either the week of the 22nd, probably the week of the 26th. In my experience, I work for a lot of companies. We're based back east. So Atlanta, New York, there's another one somewhere, Chicago. When stuff goes from the east to the west, it takes forever. I don't know if they get lost in the Rockies. I don't know what happens. No idea. But anytime I mail from west to east, it's pretty fast. It's a lot quicker. So I don't know. I've ordered stuff through Amazon. You ever done that where you're tracking it and it's coming out of I don't know, the Midwest somewhere, and then you see it sit at the mail center for like 3 days. It's like, what are they doing? Are they closed? What's happening? Why is it just sitting there? But out here, when things hit at a hub out here in California, Southern California, like Cerritos or Long Beach or Garden Grove or Irvine or whatever, you see it hit that hub, and then like 4 a.m. it's on the truck coming to you. That's kind of nice. Got a funny story. This mic that I have, I'm using to speak on right now. I bought it when I was creating the YouTube pitch video, the Galactic Comet, the one here on the main page. And so I ordered the mic, and it was like next day delivery. I'm like, cool, yeah. So it's the morning, and then I got a notice on my phone. I go, oh, look, it says that it's nearby. So I pull up Amazon. It's got a live tracker, and it actually shows the guy a couple of streets over. I go, wow, that's creepy, but it's cool. All right. So I'm on the computer. I'm listening to some stuff. I kind of glance over, and he's going on the next street, and he's a little closer, and then he goes back. And I can tell the guy's a young guy. He's probably maybe new at driving around, because he's going up and down the streets across blocks. And I see him park for a little while trying to figure out his map or something. It was hilarious. But I had to be somewhere, and it turned into the afternoon, and the guy has been now for 2 hours on the couple of the streets over here. So I'm like, all right. So I'm watching the map. And then all of a sudden he's on my street. He passes my house, and then he stops at the corner, and then he goes down another couple of houses. I'm like, oh no. So I look out, sure enough, there he is. I grab my ID. I run down there. I go, hey man, how's it going? He's all, hey. I said, and I just showed him my address so it matches up the box. I said, look, I know you're busy and you're all over the neighborhood here. I got to go somewhere, but I need my package here. It's a mic. I gotta get this. And he just looks at me. He's like, well, that's kind of weird. Well, it was weird. I'm stalking him, but I wanted my mic, and I didn't want to sit on the doorstep. You ever see you ever surf online and you see these videos of these people sneaking up on the porch and then grabbing, your box, and have you seen this person? And they're never going to catch them. Anyway, so I just said, hey, look, here's my ID. Can I get my box? It's right there. He's like, yeah, no problem. So we kind of laughed about it. He probably thought I was a complete psycho, but that's okay. You have to be, because when you're creative, you're a little crazy. So I got it and I brought it back. I plugged it in. I told my son about it, and he goes, yeah, you're nuts. So that was fun. So I go ahead and track your UPS or FedEx or Amazon driver and have fun with that. So, okay. I think I've talked. Has been helpful for anybody that's looking to write stories or put things together. I was talking to somebody last night online, and they were saying that, hey, my art's no good, or I don't, I'm going to give up because I'm looking at, Ethan Van Sciver, Mike Miller, John Malin, Doug Knapp. I'm looking at all these guys, Brand, and I guess there are people that are just blessed. They were just born that way, born with talent. Yes, there are people born with talent, and there are people who have to work at it, right? There are people with good genetics. They're big and strong, or they're shapely, or they got a nice figure, right? And then some of us, like me, we got to work at it. We got to hit the treadmill. We got to run in circles around the block. We got to watch what we eat. In the same way with writing, some people are gifted with storytelling, and then some people, you have to work at it. So work at it. Don't give up, because if you like it and it makes you happy, do it. Oh, and one more thing. Let's say that you have a story. Let's say you have an Indiegogo campaign. You want to post it. Grab a friend to qualify it for you. Don't have a family member, because they're going to tell you that it's great. Have a friend tell you, the one that's going to tell you that you're stupid, when you are, and have them look at it. But, really have somebody look at your work to kind of qualify it, and tell them, don't compliment me. Tell me how I can make it better. Compliments do no good. They don't do any good. You want to have people that are going to be positively critical and help you. And you have to sometimes get a little thick-skinned to accept criticism and accept it as a means to get better and do better. And that's the advice I can give concerning that. So, okay, I'm going to get off of this, and I've got stuff to do. But thanks for watching. And again, thank you for backing. And we'll give you some more updates, and we'll go from there. Okay? Thanks, everybody.